Hello, Champagne Dreamers! Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you'll stick around and subscribe. My name is Janessa, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And for today's video, we are going back to Thunderdome! We're doing another Makeup Thunderdome, and for this video, I wanted to rank all of my palettes from Trixie Cosmetics. I love Trixie Cosmetics. I don't really follow a lot of the RuPaul's Drag Race queens. Maybe there's a video in this somewhere down the road, but I'm not really into the machine that is RuPaul's Drag Race. I think that it's become really repetitive and just oversaturated. But you know what? There are some of the queens that have really kind of gone out on their own, and I really like what they're doing. And one of them is Trixie Mattel. I have every eyeshadow palette that she has released, as well as all of the blush palettes. So if you're excited to see how I rank all of the Trixie Cosmetics palettes, then stick around because we're getting into it right now. We're going to start this video by ranking the blush palettes. Now, I didn't want to include the blush palettes in with the eyeshadow palettes because I don't think that's a fair comparison, right? I think that the blush palettes are beautiful on their own, but a lot of times a blush, it's hard to compete with the color and the fun and the sparkle of eyeshadows. It's apples, it's oranges. We can keep them separate. I've got 4 blush palettes, and I'm going to go ahead and give them to you in my ranking order. Now, remember, we don't have to agree, but friends are always respectful, as Angelica Nyqvist from Sweden would say. We don't have to agree, but I just want to give you sort of my take on it. And I do have to say as well, for anybody who's like a Trixie stan and you're one of those like keyboard warriors who has to like jump in and defend your fave or whatever, I get it. I love Trixie Cosmetics. I own every single palette that they do. So I'm not saying I hate any of these products. I'm not saying any of them are trash. I'm just giving you my reasons for why I rank them in the order that I do. And something's got to be on the bottom. I can't be like, oh my god, every single palette is tied for number 1. That would be a short video and it would be stupid. So we're going to rank it and we're all going to get over it and be adults, okay? Okay. Thanks. So with the blush palettes, let's start at number 4, the Back to the Fuchsia palette. Now, I do like this. This is my era. I was a kid in the 80s, so these creepy bobblehead doll things that she puts on all her blush palettes that I don't understand. I love this. This very much reminds me of my childhood. And I do love purple blush, and if you look at this, you'll see there is there's definitely some use to this. This palette has gotten some use. She's had a rough time, but this one is a lot of fun. It's just in last place because of this highlighter. I love a purple highlighter moment, but there's something about this purple highlighter hologram. It's got almost like a burnished silver, like it's got this like silver but not chromy silver to it that darkens it and it gives it a weird cast. So these are lovely and I do love these blushes, but this highlighter is just kind of a problem. So that's why this ended up in last place, because these are lovely, but this one is a little bit of a challenge. In my number 3 spot for the blushes, the Just a Girl palette. This is the one that's sort of referencing the 90s. And I was first getting into drag and learning about drag makeup in the 90s. And let me tell you, blush was not really a thing in the 90s, especially the late 90s. With grunge and with everything that was going on, you had a lot of bold lips. Like this lip that I'm wearing right now, Jacqueline Cosmetics, is very much a 90s lip, and there was a lot of like mustard and cranberry and jewel tones and grungy tones, and so a lot of times on the cheeks people just did a little something that was kind of peachy, nudie, maybe a little bit brown, but it just was meant to kind of blend in, give you a little something but not stand out. It was about eyes, lips. It was harsh. It was really kind of like, if you were white, it was like pale skin, cranberry lips, and then these like jewel tone, grungy tones on the eyes. Just a little touch of blush. So this is beautiful, but these shades are a little bit boring. You know, this is great for a contour. I do like that for a contour. This shade, Total Betty, is beautiful, but it's just a really nudie kind of pink. There's nothing really kind of spectacular. And this highlighter is basically just another blush. So it's just that these colors are a little bit boring. But I do think that these perform really well. And I did have to put it above that purple highlighter. Because that one really was kind of a misstep. So this is great, but it's just a little bit boring for me. In the number 2 spot, so we've only got 2 left. When it's only 4, it's not that much suspense. But in the number 2 spot, we have Summer of Love. I do love a pink blush moment. This is really beautiful. Since they were doing Back to the Fuchsia, which ended up being purple, I mean, this is a fuchsia blush. So, like, there's a little bit of a disconnect sometimes, but it's okay. I love this bright fuchsia pink. I love this baby pink. And this like white-based highlighter with pink is nice. It does leave a little bit of a cast. On darker skin tones, this could be maybe a tricky formulation to get to work right. But I love this. It's called After School Special. I mean, shut the door. I love it. I think that this is a lot of fun. This is beautiful. But of course, I've gone on and on and on about this. I had to give my number 1 spot to Mod About You. I love orange blush, peachy blush. Clearly, this look right now is an orangey yellow kind of blush. I love Mod About You. This palette has this gorgeous, like, hot coral. It's got this beautiful peach blush. We love that. And then this golden highlighter. I am obsessed with peachy blushes lately. I love cool tones and all this kind of stuff, but there's something about a peachy blush that I love. And I love green eyeshadow. We've talked about this before. I love green eyeshadow, and a green eyeshadow with a peach blush and just a classic like red lip. Get the fuck out of here. So beautiful. So this is my number 1. But all of the Trixie blush palettes are fantastic. You can't go wrong with any of them. That's just my ranking for the top 4.
Baby, this is what you came for.
Rihanna could never. All right, this is what you came for. The blushes were fun, but we are here to Makeup Thunderdome and rank the eyeshadow palettes. I have all 9 of the Trixie palettes, the mini palettes, everything. I have all the palettes, so I am super excited. Let's go in and talk about these. Now again, I generally think that Trixie's quality for eyeshadows is pretty consistent across the board. They're not like my top eyeshadow formula. I think they're good, solid. I think the mattes are beautiful and blendable. The shimmers are good. A lot of them are more kind of your traditional satiny kind of shimmers. And occasionally she does like a more metallic shimmer that's really beautiful. They're not like standout, really kind of bananas kind of shades, but they're good, solid, beautiful shades. The metallics are really good, and so I think they're just a lot of fun. So I don't generally have quality concerns, and the ones that we do we'll talk about as we go through. But this is my ranking for all 9, and starting in the number 9 spot, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I love Juno Birch. I think that Juno Birch, as a person, as a performer, as an alien, whatever they are, I think that they are a lot of fun and very quirky and cool. But this is my last place for the palettes. Let's talk about why. Number 1, because out of 12 shades, there's only 1 shimmer. Now this shimmer is kind of a fun taupe with like a pinky duochrome shift. It's a fun shimmer, but there's only 1 shimmer out of this whole palette. That was a strike against it from the start. And then these mattes that are in here, they're nice, but they're a little bit like, I don't want to say dusty or chalky, because it's not that the formulation is bad. It's just that the colors here are meant to be a little bit more muted. So for example, we've got this kind of navy blue snozberry. There are other blues in some of Trixie's palettes that are also kind of this depth, but have much more of a richness to them. These are just a little bit more kind of washed out, a little bit of kind of like a vintagey, muted kind of color story. This face. That's why this doesn't really work for me, because I am not muted. I am a Technicolor nightmare, and this doesn't give me that. Although this shade, one of the only orange shades, as I was looking at all these palettes kind of laid out together, and I think Trixie only has 2 orange shades in all of the palettes. And this is the matte shade right here, Pause, which is beautiful, but again, it just wasn't enough to elevate it out of last place. Number 8, we have a mini palette, and that is the Rebound palette from the Breakup collection. Now this is cute, and I do like that it looks like a little clutch purse, but I don't know why she went from the square pans that she had earlier into these rectangle pans. Anybody who has an Urban Decay Naked palette knows what a pain in the ass these fucking rectangle pans, these little skinny ones like this, they're awful, they're terrible to get a brush into. This is the other orange shadow, so I was like, ooh, there's not very many oranges, that's fun. Except both of the palettes that have oranges are like my bottom two. So this one, I wish she had had 2 more shades and just stuck to the square pans that we're gonna see with the other mini palette in a little bit. These are fun colors, these are fun bright neons, but they're just not doing it. But here you can see there's like a dark blue, but this one has so much more vibrancy to it than the one in the Juno Birch. So this is good, but it still ended up towards the bottom because it's just kind of boring. It's a good companion palette, not so great by itself. In the number 7 spot, we have the Breakup palette. I don't know what happened here. I really just don't know what happened here. First of all, this packaging, all of her other palettes, like the 2 mini palettes are the same size and shape. The other rectangle palettes, all the same size and shape. And then this. I guess she's like, it looks like a box of candy or whatever. I just hate this. I hate the packaging so much. And then we get in here, there's no mirror, by the way, which I don't always use the mirror in a palette. I have a standalone mirror that I use when I'm getting ready, but I like to have a mirror in a palette. And then it's kind of this weird heart shape, so things are kind of offset. The shades are fine. This blue shimmer is gorgeous. That's really what, this was going to be my bottom. When I just thought about the palettes, immediately I was like, this, last place. But then as I was swatching them and playing with them, I was like, oh, no. These 2 reds are gorgeous. And this blue shimmer and this like brownish shimmer with a little bit of like shimmer flip to it. These shades were beautiful. So I was like, this has to go up a little bit because I hate the packaging. I hate the shape. But the shades are a little bit better than what's in either the Rebound palette or the Juno Birch. So I had to give this one a little bit of credit and put it in number 7. But seriously, that fucking palette shape. In the number 6 spot, we have our other mini palette, Daytime Realness. This was the first palette that she did, and she did refer to it as a mini palette when she launched it, because I was like, I hope she doesn't do a ton of these little palettes, because I like a big palette, I just do. But this is really pretty. I do like blue eyeshadow, and I love that she did it with like these 2 grays. The only reason why this is kind of as low as it is that like these 2 mattes are different. Like clearly this is a dark gray, this is like a medium to dark gray, but with gray, who cares? I don't need like all this gradient and gray. I want beautiful shades. This blue and this blue, again, they're different, but they're not that different. Give me, especially when you're only giving me 3 shimmers, give me, instead of like both of these, give me a dark blue, like this kind of blue shimmer. Give me something. So this one, it's cute and I do like it, and it was a fun entry, and I love this packaging that looks like a little mini like VHS tape. She does nostalgia like nobody else, but this one is just in number 6. It's good, but it's not great. Now we are into the top 5, and in the number 5 spot we have another collab palette, the Team Katya. And this one is fine, and the performance is really beautiful. What knocks this one down for me is just the color story. Like, I look at this and I feel like if I'm just doing a 2 or 3 shade look, I can kind of put things together. But like, this is real busy, and like this kind of like burgundy infused brown, and this brown, and then this brown, but then there's like a silver, and then there's a brassy gold, and there's a red and black matte, and there's this beige, but then blues, and then like hooker pink. It's just a lot. It's all over the place. I feel like you could get a lot and a really diverse array of like 2 and 3 shadow looks, especially 2 shadow looks. But in terms of me, where I'm trying to build gradients like what you see on my eyes here, I feel like this, I get confused and I don't know where to go with it. So Katya is a lot of fun, but I think her aesthetic is not as much my aesthetic as Trixie's is. So this is cute, but it's in number 5. In the number 4 spot, we have the first of the big palettes, the Bottle Blonde. This was the first time that she did a full-size palette. It really kind of established her look, her aesthetic for eyeshadow palettes. I love it. And this is a really beautiful collection of pinks and purples without being that sort of plummy, mauve-y, neutrally kind of boringness that we sink into with like Natasha Denona and like Pat McGrath with just like the boring basic plum. I feel like plum and mauve are like the new beige. This is like purple and pink with some neutrals, but done in a fun way. Like this bubblegum bright Barbie pink, these 2 fun, very bright, very vivid purples. And then we've got more of kind of a berry tone. And we've got this fun kind of very pale pink shimmer. And this more medium pink shimmer that's got some interesting glitter to it. So I think this is a lot of fun. It's just a little bit less colorful than I would like. There's a few neutrals in here which are lovely, but as you're gonna see, I am a lover of color, and so the top 3 really are the most colorful, the most vibrant of Trixie's palettes. We are into the top 3. It is time for some color. It is time for some vibrancy. And it's time for some greens. In the number 3 spot, we have Plant Gay. I think this is super fun. I think this is really cool. During the pandemic, there were so many like plant gays that popped up all over Instagram. It was a little bit ridiculous, and I love green eyeshadow. So I think that this is fun because it's got a whole row of greens. Obviously gonna love that. But then we pair green with pink. I love green with pink. There's something about that that's sort of 60s and vintage to me. I love this kind of Barbie pink. Now this pink is very similar to the one in Bottle Blonde. I do have to say that I think that sometimes with Trixie's palettes there is a little bit of, if not exact duplication, there's a little bit of very similar kind of tones and feelings and things. But I like that there's a couple pinks, there's this fun yellow matte, there's this more kind of orchid violet, and then a couple of these interesting browns that aren't just like medium chocolate brown like you see in every fucking palette. So I love this. It's not really higher because it's, again, not as vibrant. And there's a couple of options that we're going to see that just really amp up the volume. I think that these are beautiful. Any of these greens I would wear any day. I absolutely love it. So Plant Gay is my number 3. In my number 2 spot, Team Trixie takes the crown. I love Team Trixie. So this is a really great palette. This is fun. I love this color story over the Team Katya very much. This is fun. I love the like holographic lettering on the front. And then inside, once again, we've paired some like minty greens with pink. And this is the real kind of pink-green pairing. I love pink and green all the time, but my favorite, this reminds me of like 1950s Chevys. Those like with the big fins, the cars, like mint green and bubblegum pink. And then there's again a couple yellows, which are really beautiful. We've got a few more of these like more muted kind of pinks. I love it. This is actually the palette that I used when I reacted to my very first video for my 2-year anniversary on YouTube. I'll link that right here if you missed it. But I love this palette. The look that I came up with was absolutely gorgeous. This is so fun and so beautiful. It's bright, it's got some pastels, it's got pink and green. We love it. Number 1 spot is the newest palette, but the minute I saw it, I knew it was going to be a favorite. And as I've played around with these, it has become the favorite. And that is the Girl Talk palette. And yes, I've put my stickers all over my Furby and my pizza and my jelly shoes. I love this. I think these little sticker sheets are so fun. And I love the idea of decorating up this palette. And inside, you've got these beautiful, like, neon pastel brights that really just epitomize the early part of the 90s. So grunge and all of that really kind of comes around mid to late 90s. So, like, Nirvana is, like, 1993 onward. And that's where we start to slide down into that more jewel-toned, really just kind of awful, like, mustards and cranberry and army green and all that kind of shit. But the first few years of the 90s were kind of an extension of the 80s and really kind of amped up the color because people forget how fucking brown the 80s were. They make it seem like everybody's rooms and everybody's house looked like this. Our houses were brown and orange in the fucking 80s. They were all brown and orange or like pale pink. Like it was ridiculous. And then the 90s, we really got some of these very saturated pastel bright kind of neon shades, and then it slid into grunge. I love this. These two greens. I'm going to swatch a few. I haven't swatched any from these so far. I'm going to go ahead and swatch this. There are some reviews of Trixie Cosmetics, I believe, up on JanessaJ.com, so definitely check that out. Swatch both of these greens, and this hot pink, and maybe like this purple matte. I mean, look at that. So pretty. So there are those shades swatched out. Now this one, I kind of went over the humps in my hand. There's knuckles under there, so don't blame that on the shadow. And they do need a little bit of like blending out, but they're just beautiful shades. The color is really bright and saturated, and I absolutely love these. I think they're so fun. This green with this like iridescent glitter is so pretty. And then this lime with like this gold shift. So gorgeous. So I think Trixie has a lot of fun palettes, but absolutely the Girl Talk palette had to be number 1. Alright, that is the video. That is the Makeup Thunderdome. That is how I feel about all of my Trixie Cosmetics blush and eyeshadow palettes. Let me know down below, how would you have ranked these? Have you tried these? Are there some that you would have put higher on the list, lower on the list? Tell me what you think. What do you think about the blushes versus the eyeshadows? Do you think that some of her products are better than others? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts. Put them down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to give me that thumbs up to tell me how much you love these Thunderdome videos. Or if you're like, can't we all just get along? Why do we have to rank everything? I don't understand why it has to be a competition. Give me that thumbs down. I will take it. It's all engagement, folks. The algorithm isn't a picky bitch, and neither am I. While you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I would love to have you. I have been doing really good about uploading at least 2 videos a week, including vintage episodes of my podcast, Miss Jaye the Renovation. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you might even get a bonus video. Ooh, songstress. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website, version 3.0, The World of Champagne at JanessaJ.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you, and I love every time you come with me on a trip to the Makeup Thunderdome. And until I see you again, bye. And then we've got some other more like mutity kind of mutity.
Why is it songstress?
I don't, because she sings.